My name is Alan Ginsberg, and today I'm hosting Access Spotlight, featuring the Interfaith Nutrition Network, otherwise known as the IN. This non-for-profit organization serves the hungry and homeless of Long Island by providing food, shelter, and long-term housing and supportive services. Today, to talk to us about the IN is Dana Lopez, who's the Communications and Public Relations Manager for the IN. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Alan.
So, why don't you start by explaining a bit about the IN and what you guys do?
Sure. Well, the IN is a non-for-profit agency that serves the hungry and homeless population of Long Island. What we try to do, and our main goal, is to provide our services in a dignified and respectful manner to anybody who seeks our help.
So I was reading that you guys were founded in 1983 out of a church in Hempstead. How many locations do you guys have now? Yeah,
we actually just celebrated our 30-year anniversary last year. Right now, we have 14 soup kitchens, we have 3 emergency housing shelters, and we have 23 units for long-term housing with supportive services.
And is this all in Long Island?
It's all in Long Island, yes.
So the IN is short for the Interfaith Nutrition Network. Does this mean that all are welcome, and was it originally started in an interfaith church?
The IN was started 30 years ago by a group of concerned citizens in Long Island that found that there was a need for a soup kitchen here, right in their own backyards. They knew that it was happening in the city and in other areas, but they found that there was definitely a need here. It was started in a church. Interfaith, when we say interfaith, it really just means the inclusion of everybody to be able to receive our help, regardless of what their personal beliefs are. So we do welcome everybody, regardless of their faith or their religion, their personal beliefs. It's just the inclusion of everyone.
Mm-hmm. So, homelessness is not really discussed on Long Island that often. Is it something that we should be talking about more? And in homelessness, does that also include groups of families who are maybe not homelessness, but also maybe struggling to provide food for their families? I mean, do you guys cover those types of?
Yeah, it's absolutely something that we should be talking about more, especially on Long Island. If you think about it, Nassau and Suffolk counties are among the wealthiest counties in the nation. But yet, at one of our soup kitchens, the Mary Brennan Inn in Hempstead, which is our main location, we can serve anywhere from 250 to 400 people a day that need to come in for a hot meal. So it definitely is an issue that needs to be addressed. A lot of people feel that if you don't necessarily see someone who may be hungry or homeless on the streets of Long Island, that means that it doesn't exist, and that's not necessarily the case. And at the IN, we know that firsthand because we see all of our guests that come in, and they're coming in from local areas on Long Island.
And now, have you seen that maybe because of the economic recession, has numbers been increasing or decreasing over the past 10 years?
Well, it varies. I mean, they definitely increase at different times of year. We see an increase in the summer months, in the winter months, around the holidays. There was definitely an increase with the economic recession and also Hurricane Sandy, which affected Long Island very greatly. So, but the fact that we've been around for 30 years serving this particular population of hungry and homeless does mean that it has been here. It definitely has increased as we have grown. We've grown to meet the need, so it definitely the numbers have definitely gone up.
Wow. Well, we have a short video about the IN, so let's take a look at it now.
There are so many Long Islanders that are only a paycheck away from needing our assistance.
People that we serve in the IN could literally be our next door neighbors, live in our towns, go to school with our children.
People do not know that this exists on Long Island.
Hunger is here on Long Island. Homelessness is here right around in your own neighborhood.
Nobody plans to be homeless. Nobody wakes up and says, I think I'm going to be homeless today. Something has happened in their life that pushes them into poverty.
3 out of every 10 people go to sleep hungry at night.
How do you put food on the table if you don't have a job? How do you send your daughter off to school when you don't have money to buy clothing?
to see people walking with their families, and this is their only hot meal of the day. It's really gut-wrenching.
I thank goodness that they do have a loving place like the Inn that does care about them.
People think about a soup kitchen, you think you're just coming for a meal.
We also have a clothing boutique here.
People can come in and they can take shoes or a jacket.
They need clothing for jobs, or they just need clothing period for their kids to go to school.
We have counseling service, we have housing referrals, education referrals, employment referrals. You can also get a nice shower if you'd like a shower.
We provide all of our guests with a 5-pound bag of canned goods that they could take with them.
I think that the people who work here are passionate.
The staff is, I marvel at them. I could never do what they do. There are people coming in asking for clothes, asking for showers. Some need counseling, some need help with getting insurance. 400 or 500 people per day. 3 people run this.
The volunteers just do an absolutely incredible job.
I am so proud to be affiliated with something like this. I really am.
It's an amazing place to work.
Everybody should be able to help someone. There's that saying, to give back. And to give back is a wonderful thing. You feel it in your heart and your soul.
There was a time when I was actually hungry. And if I can just, if my coming here for 4 or 5 hours help somebody not be hungry, that's a simple thing for me to do.
When somebody walks out after having their meal and they say something like, "Thank you," that's how we volunteers get paid.
I think what makes the Inn unique is that it's a local charity that contributes to women, to men, to children, and they're our neighbors.
I mean, it's very simple. All people have to do is to help us so we can help others. Whether it's contributing food, money, time, we need them for the Inn here to survive.
We can't solve all the problems of the world, but if you can make one little difference in somebody's life, that really means a great deal.
Wow. I think that video just really showed the connection between so many volunteers there and the stories. And one of the things that I noticed was they talked about people coming in. Do you have a lot of families, like we were talking about earlier, that come in that maybe they're not homeless, but they struggle with food?
Yeah, well, what's happening now is there's an increase in the number of people that are now classified as what they call the working poor. So they're people that might have a job or they do have a place to live, but their paycheck may not stretch to the end of the month. They may have to make very difficult choices. They may have to choose between paying the rent or the mortgage or putting food on the table. It'll be one or the other. So when they pay that rent or mortgage, then they end up maybe coming to a place like the Inn or one of our soup kitchens where they can sit down and have a meal. We do get a lot of families that come in, an increasing number of children, although when we do serve during the week, the children are in school. But yeah, there's definitely a large number of people. Not everybody that we serve is necessarily homeless, but they do have a need, some kind of need.
And what, do you know like the percentage of you have that are homeless versus people that come in? It's
a little hard to tell. One of the policies that we have in our soup kitchens is a no questions asked policy. So if you're a guest, we call everybody that comes into our facilities our guests.
Right.
If you are a guest that has a need, we don't ask for any personal information. We don't ask you to show identification. We don't ask for you to prove that you have a need, because we feel that, one, everyone deserves a certain level of dignity and respect, and two, if you're walking into one of our facilities, then you're probably walking in because you do need something. Maybe it's a hot meal. Maybe it's, like you saw in the video, a hot shower or some clothing, or maybe it's just an opportunity to get in out of the cold. I mean, this winter, everybody knows, has been so tough.
Very cold.
It might be to get out of the cold. It might be that you need a safe space to come into. So, so there isn't, we don't ask people to prove that. We just offer them the services that we provide.
Speaking of the cold, did you have a bunch of people that were coming in during then?
It was very tough for us. We did have to close the soup kitchen on the snow days, only because we operate mostly through our volunteers. And if there's dangerous conditions that our volunteers can't get to the soup kitchen, then we simply can't operate.
Right.
So unfortunately, we did have to close a few of those snow days. We try to prepare sometimes the day before. We give out bag lunches, we give out warm clothing, we give out as much as we can to prepare people for those weather conditions. We do whatever we can.
Well, that's amazing to, preemptively, try to prepare for those situations. One of the things that PATV does here is we have a program called the Veterans Project, where we bring in veterans and we have them record their personal stories. And we've often learned that when they come back, there's a lack of support system for them. And there's over, I think, in a recent USA Today article, over 50,000 Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans who are either homeless or in a federal program aimed to help them with, housing. And does the Inn do anything to help veterans overcome these problems?
Yes, we do. We actually do have one shelter that's specifically to house formerly homeless veterans. It is one shelter, so we can accommodate up to 9 veterans at a time. But in addition to just the housing alone, we do offer them supportive services. So if a veteran comes into that particular shelter, they work with a licensed social worker, and that social worker just kind of works on their case, offers them supportive services as they need them. It might be education or employment services or counseling, referrals, or anything that they really need to sort of get back on their feet.
Do you offer this for non-veterans as well, the counseling and?
Yes, through our long-term housing program we do. We offer those same types of services for families that need a little bit more help and need to be housed for a little bit longer. If they come into our long-term housing program, they are offered these services to try to clean up their credit or to try to get a job or go back to school or whatever it is they need to do to push them towards self-sufficiency. So our goal at the end is to have these families and the veterans and whoever comes through our program to leave our program, and hopefully we don't see them again. Because if we don't, then that means that you've
succeeded.
That's exactly right. They've become have the ability now to stand on their own feet, which is the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak.
Now, do you find that when they become, as you say, self-sufficient, that they often want to come back and volunteer and pay it forward?
Yes, absolutely. We do. It's an interesting situation because we do have a policy at the Inn that we ask that you do not, if you have moved on from some of our services, we do ask that you need to not use our services for 1 year before you come back to be involved as a volunteer or in another capacity. That's only because when you come back too soon to the environment where maybe sometimes other people may not have gotten to the point where you've gotten, it might be a little bit tricky. So we try to kind of make a little bit of a separation before they're able to come back. But that doesn't mean that we don't encourage them to volunteer or to pay it forward or to give back in other ways or for other organizations.
To give some time to go past that. No, absolutely. Well, also today, part of our crew is actually from the youth project, Teen TV, everyone here today, and they're all high school students from surrounding areas who come weekly to participate in the program, and I think we have a few questions that they'd like to ask.
Okay.
So if you'd like to start with your first question.
Hi, I'm Allie. I go to Roslyn High School, and my question is, how can we get involved in volunteering, and are there any age restrictions?
Hi, Allie. That's a great question. The only age restrictions that we have, you do have to be at least 10 years old to come and volunteer in the soup kitchen, which I know all of you guys are. You do have to be at least 16 years old to be able to prepare and serve a meal to our guests and to be in the building when our guests are present in the facility. Other than that, we have opportunities where you can come into the soup kitchen and volunteer. Primarily, what we do have is a youth advisory board, and our youth advisory board is made up of high school students across Long Island, including some students from Roslyn High School. We do have students from your school that come in. We meet once a month with those students, and we try to get them involved in any way that they can. So they do volunteer projects in the soup kitchen. They help us organize fundraisers. They give us their input and try to get involved in any way that they can. We do have an event coming up. I know we're going to talk about that. We have an event coming up that our Youth Advisory Board has sponsored at the Applebee's in Westbury on Corporate Drive. It's an Applebee's Flapjack fundraiser. So what they'll do is they'll come in for our monthly meeting in March. They're selling the tickets to this event. They will be volunteering at the event, so they'll be serving food. It's actually a breakfast in the morning on March 29th. So they'll be serving food, they'll be greeting guests, they'll be bussing tables, and they're really involved. So that's just one of the ways, and I think the best way that high school students can get involved with the Inn is being a part of the Youth Advisory Board.
Oh, that sounds fantastic, especially that whole breakfast thing. That sounds really nice to have them included.
Yeah, it's great, and I invite all of you guys to come and join us. The meetings are open to high school students, and if you'd like to bring your parents, you can do that as well.
Great. I think we have some other questions as well.
Hi, I'm Nick. I go to Herrick's High School. I was just wondering, could we volunteer for community service credit?
Yes. Yes, good question, Nick. There's a lot of students and young people that want community service hours, whether it's for religious instruction, or it's for your resume, or it's for college applications. We do give community service credit. It's usually through whatever school or organization you need it from. If you bring in a form, we can sign it for you. It obviously depends on your participation and the amount of hours that you put into it, but that is definitely something that we offer the students.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Aaron from Great Neck. My question is, what are some ways schools can get involved?
That's a good question, Aaron. There's lots of ways that schools get involved, and we do have a lot of relationships with schools around the area, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges. Like I said, there are opportunities for schools and groups to come into the soup kitchen and volunteer. It's usually on days that you're off from school, which kind of gets a little tight, the Youth Advisory Board. But what I find is that schools do a lot of different projects for the Inn. We encourage all schools and all students to get creative, to hold collection drives. As you saw in the video, we accept clothing donations, food donations. We do have shower facilities at the Mary Brennan Inn in Hempstead, so we accept new and gently used towels and toiletries, little travel size shampoos and conditioners and soaps and things like that. So a lot of the schools hold collection drives, and that's a big way that they can get involved. The whole school can get involved, or just maybe some classes or some different groups. We had a great example of a creative way that a school raised some funds for us. It was Southwoods Middle School in Syosset. They held a walkathon on Halloween Day, this past Halloween, and all the kids got dressed up in their costumes and they walked around their track in their school. They got their community members and their family members to sponsor them, and they raised over $4,000 in just one morning, on Halloween morning. So the possibilities for schools to get involved are limitless. So knowing the types of things that we accept, the types of donations, it's really just up to the school and the students to figure out what's the best and most fun way to get everybody involved.
Sounds really creative, absolutely. And I think we have one more question. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Amanda from Roslyn High School, and my question is, do you think educating our generation on poverty will have an impact on our future?
Amanda, I love that question because, I mean, obviously, the short answer is yes. I think that it'll have an incredible impact on the future. I think that the earlier that we can start educating our children to learn about the importance of giving back and the importance of knowing that there are certain privileges that we have that maybe some others may not have, as soon as our children are able to speak and comprehend something like that, I think that we have to start teaching those lessons. There's a lot of wealth here on Long Island. There's a lot of privilege. And I think that it's really important for our students and our children to understand that it's not just about what we have, but what we can give to others. And that we have the ability to give back to others. I speak to students and children as young as 8 years old and tell them that even if you help one person, then you've done your job. You've done something good for somebody else. I think that if we raise our children to be empathetic, to be caring, to be non-judgmental, those children will turn into non-judgmental, caring, empathetic adults. And that's just a good thing. So that was a great question. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys so much for such great questions. You know, obviously, PATV as well, you know, is an organization that depends on volunteers. And besides students in your youth advisory board, what are other ways that, you know, volunteers can get involved to help out the Inn?
Well, something important about the Inn is that our volunteers are literally the heart of our organization. We simply could not operate without our volunteers. We have lots of different people that come in different capacities, whether it's coming into the soup kitchen. You saw some in the video that they help out. It's out of the goodness of their hearts. Besides helping out in the soup kitchen, there are other ways to volunteer. We do have if you want to become a regular volunteer for the Inn, there is an interview and application process that goes along with it. It's just like applying for another job. We want to make sure that the people that we bring in really want to be committed and dedicated, and the ones that we have really absolutely are. If you can't be a regular volunteer, there are opportunities to just try it for a day and come into the soup kitchen and just see how it works, see how you like it. Maybe you'll come back, or maybe it's the kind of thing where you can come back on a couple of times a year on an annual basis or whatever it is. We have a lot of groups that come in. We have a lot of corporate groups and community organizations that come in as a group. A lot of the community organizations sponsor a meal. There's an opportunity to sponsor a meal at the Mary Brennan Inn, so you can actually bring your group in, either make the monetary donation to sponsor the meal, or actually sometimes some of them prepare the food for our guests for any one particular day. And also in our administrative office, we have volunteers that come in and help us out in the office. They might volunteer their time to file, or to help us with our website, or to we might have a graphic designer that wants to, use their skills to help us out somehow.
The things are very important in making a successful organization.
Absolutely.
On your website, going from that, obviously you have your soup kitchens and preparing foods, but you have a wish list. We noticed. Can you tell us what the wish list is? What are some of your more top wished for items?
Sure. Well, our wish lists are basically lists on our website, like you said, of things that we need at any particular time. Most of them are ongoing. We always collect and accept non-perishable foods for our soup kitchen. We always collect in-season clothing, and we do say in-season because we simply don't have the capacity to store. So all the articles of clothing that come in are immediately moved out into our clothing room so that our guests can utilize them right away. So we ask for in-season clothing. Right now, we're holding 2 different drives, just general in drives. One of them is a towel drive. We said already about the showers that are at the Mary Brennan Inn. In order to keep those shower facilities running, we need approximately 10,000 towels a year, because we don't take the towels back. We give them to the guests. So to keep it going, we definitely always need towels.
A lot of towels.
Yeah, and we do take brand new and gently used towels. So we're holding a towel drive. We're trying to reach 10,000 towels. We just started in the beginning of the year, so we've got a few, but we're always looking for that. We are also holding a campaign called the In Transit campaign. One of the things that we provide for our guests are single ride or round trip Metro cards, so they can get to doctor's appointments, they can get to school, they can get to job interviews. Anything that, if you need to get around, how do you do that if you don't have any money to get on the bus or to take the railroad and things like that? So, Metro cards are really going to be more for the bus and the trains. So.
It seems like the Inn is really involved in more than just, again, providing food, but also providing a society of becoming better and becoming increasing, just not just taking them in and feeding them, but helping them succeed.
Right. I mean, we realize, we like to say that we're more than just a soup kitchen, because we realize it's not just about the food, it's about so much more. It's about just the bare necessities that you need to be able to just go through life. So anything that, there's little things here and there like the Metro cards. So we're collecting Metro cards for our In Transit campaign, and we give them to our guests when they're needed. So
what are some other, I know you mentioned the flapjacks that you guys are doing, which sounds great, and the Halloween walks, but are there any other fundraisers and walks that you're doing coming up soon?
Well, actually, we do have an open house coming up at our soup kitchen in Hempstead, the Mary Brennan Inn. It's located at 100 Madison Avenue in Hempstead. We have an open house coming up on Saturday, March 8th. It's from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that is really, we open up the soup kitchen that day for anybody who's interested in coming in and learning about our programs and what we do and how they can get involved. So that's open to everyone. All ages are welcome. We're going to be giving tours of the soup kitchen every half hour. We'll have some refreshments. We'll have all of our programs there where you can go and just learn about all the different kind of moving parts that we have at the Inn. So we would really welcome anybody that's interested in learning more about us to come to our open house. We mentioned the Flapjack fundraiser on March 29th. That's at Applebee's from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Which Applebee's? Just so you know.
It's the Applebee's on Corporate Drive in Westbury. So it's the one across from the Source Mall. And that is $15 a ticket. Everybody's welcome to purchase a ticket and come in. You get breakfast. It's pancakes, eggs, bacon, a beverage, and the money goes to a good cause.
Absolutely.
And we also have, coming up in April, we have our annual Walk In to Fight Hunger. It is a walk for the inn. It's taking place at SUNY Farmingdale, and people are invited to pull teams together and participate in the walk and get donations from friends and family and community members. And that's on April 26th, also a Saturday.
You guys are busy. You have quite a lot of events.
Busy, yeah.
So, you know, before we end up here, is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you specifically want to talk about that, you know, we haven't been able to share?
I think that we covered a lot. I do want to make sure that as far as when you think about the inn, we really pride ourselves with serving our guests with dignity and respect. It's one of the things that we feel is very important. We actually have a policy, our media policy. I'm here today and I'm on camera, but we have a media policy where we don't show any of our guests on camera. We don't take pictures of them. We don't take video of them. We feel that they deserve that level of dignity to keep it and not be a poster child for hunger or homelessness. So it's just something that we strive to achieve, and we think we do it pretty well. Our executive, our management really does care about the people that we serve.
Absolutely.
We genuinely just really want to serve our guests with that dignity and respect. It's just something that we do.
Absolutely. Well, this has been eye-opening, I know, for me, for everyone here today, and I'm sure for everyone that's going to be viewing. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Alan. It was really a pleasure being here. And the students are great.
They are. They are. Thank you, everyone.
We hope that you get involved as well.
So thank you so much for watching. You know, for more information about the inn, please stay around for the credits to find out where you can contact them and find out more information. And for Access Spotlight and PATV, I'm Alan Ginsberg. Thank you so much.